Welcome to the Hud Grad Club. I'm Chris Webb, and I'm the Alumni Engagement Career Consultant with the University of Huddersfield's Careers and Employability Service. And, full disclosure, I'm also a University of Huddersfield graduate. So I've generally got pretty positive things to say about both the institution and any of our graduates. But don't take my word for it. In this podcast, we'll be meeting different members of the University of Huddersfield's global alumni community, finding out what makes them tick, about their experiences during their time at the university and their career journeys since completing their studies. Join us as we explore the inspiring, innovative and diverse range of individuals that make up the Hud Grad Club. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Hud Grad Club, our podcast celebrating the University of Huddersfield alumni community. And Elze, a very warm welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Well, thank you very much for joining us. Now, if we've got anybody watching or listening to the podcast who isn't familiar with you, hasn't kind of come across you before, just tell us a little bit more about what you studied at the university and what you're doing now.
Yeah, so very briefly, I studied hospitality business management, and at the moment, I am the activities officer in the Student Union of University of Huddersfield. However, I will be finishing this position in about a month, so it's quite scary, but yeah. I've graduated last year, so in 2022.
Wow, fantastic. So we start the podcast each time with our kind of greatest Hud story section, which is, typically about kind of memories of your time at the university. But of course, you're still here. So, it might be slightly different for you. But yeah, tell us a little bit, I guess, about some of those kind of key memories, those special memories of your time at the university, I guess, both when you were studying and more recently, I suppose, as activities officer.
Yes, I mean, I am still here, but I think seeing the university from the perspective of a member of staff is completely different. And it's kind of, you understand things that maybe you wouldn't really understand as a student. So I am still here, but I mean, the difference of kind of experiencing everything was so different between being a student and being the activities officer. And I've also done my placement in the international office, so I've experienced kind of three sides of the university, and that was definitely a really good decision. But I mean, when it comes to my best memories, I was thinking about this before the podcast, and I kind of realized that I think most of my best memories come from extracurricular activities, which I think really stresses the importance of kind of, not just keeping it to yourself and just studying, but kind of making the university experience a bit more. So, joining sports clubs and societies and kind of, getting involved with volunteering and anything you're interested in, really. And I mean, I think for me, the key memory and the thing that kind of made my university experience was the Thai boxing sports club. So in my second year, I just very accidentally joined the Thai boxing sports club because my friends really wanted to try it. And I only went there because my friends wanted to go and I couldn't be bothered, but I'm so happy I went because I fell in love with the sport and it was absolutely amazing. And then later on, I became the president of the society. And by being the president, I met so many new people and I developed a lot of skills of kind of, leadership and like teamwork, leading teams and stuff like that. And it was really, really amazing. So I think these are definitely the best memories I've had from the extracurricular activities, which definitely made my university experience.
And did that sort of have an impact in terms of you wanting to go for that role of activities officer? Because obviously, as you mentioned, it was quite a chance encounter that got you into kind of the Thai boxing side. Was that then sort of a bit of a prompt for you taking on that role of president to make you think, oh, actually, yeah, I'm really keen to take that further and kind of work within the SU officer team?
Yeah, 100%. So I think because I am an international student from Lithuania. So when I came into Huddersfield and to the university, I had no idea about, sports clubs, societies, anything, because I just wasn't aware simply. And I feel like in my first year, all my lecturers kind of really said that, oh, you'll have to focus so much on studying and you won't really have time for, societies and going out and having fun. So that's why I didn't join any sports clubs or societies in my first year. And then it was COVID. And I only actually got to join anything in my final year. And that's when I realized how amazing the SU was and kind of how many opportunities it can give to people. And that definitely from that's how I became an officer, because I saw that there's this opportunity of becoming the activities officer, who is the person that is kind of the student representative when it comes to everything activities. And I saw myself in the role, and I was thinking that I would be perfect in this role. And I mean, I am. So I'm really happy I went for it. And I mean, being the activities officer has been absolutely amazing. Again, I've met so many people, just kind of the skills you develop and the opportunities this job provides. Like, for example, I think my favorite memory from being the activities officer is 100% saying the graduation speeches. So all the officers, they say a speech during like some of the graduation ceremonies, and we have to write the speech ourselves, and we wear this massive gown that I think costs about £600, so you feel very, very fancy. And you just say an inspirational speech, and I mean, it's amazing standing on a stage with the vice chancellor and other important people in the university, and just, you know, saying a speech to all the graduates and saying, like, in this very key moment of their lives, which is, you know, them finishing university after being here for years. And I think it's an amazing moment.
I mean, it sounds fantastic. I mean, and tell us a little bit more about that. So obviously you graduated, as you said, kind of last year, and then moved directly into that role as activities officer. I guess for kind of people who are not so familiar with students' unions or kind of understand the roles of sort of SU officers, tell us a little bit more. What does it actually kind of involve, or what has it involved for you, I suppose, over the past year?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question, because I should have started with that, because I feel like a lot of people are not really aware of the SE officers, and I think they're an integral part of kind of the student body. So every year our student union elects 5 officers. So basically our students elect 5 officers that represent students in different areas. And this means that, you know, we go to different university level and national and regional level committees and meetings, and we represent the Huddersfield student population. So this can mean this can mean having conversations about, you know, cost of living, facilities, anything really, the education. And I think this year, as the officer team, we have done a lot of things. So, for example, we convinced the university to sign up to Too Good to Go, which is that food sharing app to kind of avoid food waste. We've also convinced the catering outlets to set up a new catering outlet, which provides students with cheap meals, and that comes at, like, for £2 you can get a warm meal for lunch. So I think that's been an amazing achievement. And I've kind of been working on, you know, developing esports within the university, and just listening to kind of what events students want, and making sure that this information is being fed back to the students union. So the officers definitely play an important part, and a lot of things that we take for granted now have been here because of officers. For example, having Wi-Fi on campus is a thing that officers in, you know, a lot of years ago, but they did that, so it's only because of officers. So I think, yeah, there's a lot of things that we don't really think about, how many, you know, that officers that we elected have done.
Yeah, and like you said, has it sort of changed your perspective or your perception a little bit, I guess, of the university? Because you mentioned that you undertook your placement in the international team in the international office, so you kind of had that experience of being, I guess, a staff member within the institution, and then the SU, which of course is separate, is sort of independent. So yeah, how has that experience, I guess, sort of changed the way you see your time at the university?
Yeah, I think, well, it was very, very useful, because I mean, I am international student, but I come from Europe, so my kind of struggles are very different to the ones that, you know, the students that come from outside of Europe, and they definitely go through much more, and I wasn't really aware of that until I actually started working in the international office. And through working in the international office, I developed like such a global awareness of people, and I met so many people from all over the world, learned about their cultures, and that really helped me in my role in the SU. Because one thing that the SU was kind of struggling with, it was engaging international students. So I think I came with that perspective of being an international student, and also knowing a lot of international students, where I could kind of feedback and say, you know, well, this is what international students want. Maybe we should advertise it this way so it attracts international students. And I mean, it is very different as well, seeing the, you know, that international office office is obviously part of the university, and the SU is a separate company within the university as well. So it was interesting learning that and kind of realizing how the whole university works, because I feel like a lot of people just see the university and think, oh, it's a university, but you don't think that each department is different. They have different governance and everything. It's really interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. As you say, I guess particularly coming from an international perspective, you probably don't know what to expect as much, because I guess as a home student, as a UK student, you've got a perception, I guess, of what universities are like in the UK. You may have got a family member who's been to a UK institution, but I guess it can be, as you said, completely different, particularly maybe if you're from a system, as you said, outside of Europe or outside of kind of maybe, Canada or America, where maybe there's some similarities. So yeah, really, really, really interesting. Tell us a little bit more, I guess, around your, I suppose, sort of experience as an international student and what brought you to the UK to study. So, what kind of encouraged you, I guess, to sort of come here in the first place, to undertake a university education and the course that you chose to study?
I think, well, the me choosing the course was really easy, because when I was 18, I worked in Cyprus as a waitress, and I kind of learned that I love hospitality. And this was like definitely a light bulb moment for me, where I just thought, you know what, I actually really love this, because before that, I didn't really know what I wanted to do in the future. But I knew that kind of next step, if I want to advance in that industry, would be to go to university. And I didn't want to stay at home, because I just kind of wanted to go somewhere outside the country, just get outside of my comfort zone and just see the world, really. And I think the easiest country from Lithuania that was to get to, and I was looking for a country that I could speak the language of, so I could speak English at that time. And I chose Huddersfield, because I can pretend that I chose Huddersfield for a really good reason, but if I'm being completely honest, I just really like the look of the Osler building, and I thought, you know what, I really like this place. I want to go here, and it's been an amazing choice. I should have probably done a bit more research on other universities, but I'm very happy with where I ended up, and I feel like it was fate. And also, in addition to that, hospitality is a course that not a lot of universities do in the UK. So it helped my decision. But I think, yeah, I kind of went through the website, read about it more, and I really fell in love with the university without really being here, if that can happen.
And you've done a couple of different things now, as you said. You had that placement within sort of the international team. You've had the last year, obviously, working as an SU officer. Have you still got that kind of love for the subject, and hospitality as an industry? And is that something you're kind of planning to pursue now that you're kind of moving away from the officer role?
Yeah, definitely. So every job that I do, I'm trying to make sure that it has some aspect of hospitality in it. So, for example, my role in the international office was very customer focused, which meant customers being students, and which meant that I was, it was still hospitality in one way. Again, being the activities officer is very much the same, that it's, events, it's again, customer focused, student focused. And hospitality is definitely an area that I want to be in. So I am currently applying for jobs in hospitality and kind of looking for jobs in hospitality. I already have one opportunity in a hotel, and I'm also looking for just other opportunities, but definitely I know that hospitality is where I belong, and that's what I want to do.
Oh, fantastic. And as you say, really interesting to hear about that light bulb moment, when you were 18 and what sparked that interest, and the fact that you've almost kind of been, using every opportunity that comes up as a way to sort of deepen the skills in that area or kind of apply them to the role that you're doing. I know that you mentioned, I think, off the podcast that, your time as an SU officer has been another big light bulb moment for you, I guess. Tell us, I guess, what you've kind of taken from that, because there's such unique roles, like you said earlier, that a lot of people just simply don't know necessarily how they work, but also I guess it's something that only a handful of people can say they've done. Only get a chance to do it once per year. There's only 5 roles. So yeah, tell us, I guess, the impact that's had that last year being an SU officer.
Well, first of all, it gave me so much resilience and kind of strength and confidence. And because, being able to say that I'm a director of a £2 million charity when I am 24 years old, I think it's pretty cool. And it does look good on your CV. So, that's amazing. And by being an officer, you are a trustee of a huge charity. And at the same time, you are in charge of a lot. So having that responsibility really teaches you how to kind of work with people and how to make decisions. And that's one thing that I definitely took away. And I think the most important thing that I took away, and I'm going to remember this thing for the rest of my life, is kind of the importance of saying your opinion, the importance of being loud, and the importance of just kind of expressing yourself. Because especially with this role, I have been elected into this role by over 1,000 students. So it feels amazing to know that these people put their trust into me, and I cannot let them down. I have to speak up because they trust me in speaking up. So that's what I have to do. So I learned to kind of how to express my opinion in a nice way, in kind of in a appropriate way, and just not, because obviously you will be speaking with people who are in higher positions than you, but it's still very important to say your opinion, because if even if it was just a regular job, you were hired for a reason, because they liked you. And your perspective, while you might think it's not as important as someone who's been in the company for 50 years, it still is a fresh perspective. And I can guarantee that the business you deal with has customers who are like you. So I think that's the thing I took away the most.
Oh no, absolutely. And I mean, I think, as you say there, it's particularly important because that's what universities are there for, to serve the student population. So to have that, as you said, that voice, not just your kind of personal voice, but the voice of those you represent is, super important. And I mean, it sounds like you had some great support for the role. I guess sort of speaking of supporters and support that you've had, are there kind of any sort of particular individuals during your time at the university who've been particularly supportive of you, or kind of people that you feel have had sort of a significant influence, I guess, on your career so far?
Yeah, definitely. So I think there's been kind of in the university, there's been four key people for me. So when I was studying, it was definitely two of my lecturers. It was Fiona Moffat and Andy Jenkins. And these two people definitely made my academic experience amazing. I mean, they're an amazing lecturers, 100%. And I enjoyed every single lecture they've given, because they were all so engaging and kind of fun and different. And it just really, really made me fall in love with hospitality even more. And especially with Fiona, for example, she's given me so much career advice and really, really helped me kind of decide what I like, and help me explore the hospitality world. So, I mean, without Fiona Moffat or Andy Jenkins, I wouldn't have a first in hospitality, 100%. And I just wouldn't be as in love with hospitality as I am now. I think also when it comes to my placement in the international office, Alan Toby, who was my manager at that time, really helped me as well, because he was very supportive of everything I was trying to do. He put his trust in me, and I came really out of nowhere, and he had his trust in me to, deal with a lot of international societies and kind of help them. And I really, really appreciated that. And again, he gave me so much career advice, and Alan Toby was my biggest supporter, and he kind of, helped me apply for jobs and just helped me make decisions. And I really appreciate that. And then also, if I come to my officer role, I think Matt Short, again, a manager in the SU, he was so supportive as well. And he helped me really kind of become the best officer I can be. So these are I think when it comes to, people in the university, these were definitely four people that made my time in the university amazing. I mean, my mom, obviously, she is very important to mention too, because she was my biggest cheerleader and still is. And I couldn't have done it without her. And I mean, she's partly the reason why I'm in the UK, because she couldn't, I wanted to go to the UK, and I was worried about telling her that, but she said, go into the world and see it, and try new things. So yeah.
There are really important points, I guess, about the different types of supporters you have in your career. As you say, you need those cheerleaders, people that are going to give you that support, that encouragement, go and do the things that you're wanting to go and do. But also, as you said, that sort of that value of kind of in the early stage of your career, having managers who put trust in you, that they're not condescending, they're not limiting you from trying things, but they're actually giving you the freedom to kind of go out and do things and gain experience. And I mean, it sounds like it was both of those have been really valuable experiences for you.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Well, Elze, thanks so much, for reflecting on kind of your career so far. It's been really interesting to hear about everything. If we've got kind of students and graduates who are watching this and they're thinking, okay, sounds like you've already packed a lot into your career so far. Are there any kind of nuggets of wisdom or any sort of useful careers advice that you feel from your time so far, from your career so far, you'd like to share with any sort of students and graduates who might be watching or listening?
Yeah, so I'd say I'd have to narrow it down to kind of three pieces of advice. So I think the first one is definitely, you have to try everything to see what you like. And I've learned that so many times through different experiences in my life that, without trying new things, even things that you think you'd be bad at, you won't really realize what you like and what you don't like. So it's better to try something and not like it than to be afraid to try something and then, in years realizing that you actually like doing that. So I'd say that's the first piece of advice. The second piece of advice is that extracurricular activities make you stand out. So, this can be anything that you like. So it can be sports, it can be, creative things, it can be art, it can be volunteering, but these things kind of make you stand out and they give you another layer that employers are looking for. And again, it guaranteed that there are, of the business you're applying for, there are customers who are similar to you, and that's what businesses are looking for. So those activities definitely make you stand out. And I think finally, kind of, when it comes to applying for jobs, I found that it's the best to just apply for everything without really thinking much. And, thinking like, oh, well, can I really do the job? Am I good enough? Do I have the experience? And because apply for everything, because you can always reject the opportunity. If you end up getting a job and you don't think it's the right job for you, or if you don't like it for some reason, you can always reject it. But I mean, if you doubt yourself and think maybe I shouldn't apply for this opportunity, then you might miss out on something that might be very important to your career.
Yeah, I think those are all really valuable points. I mean, that come back to the one you've just talked about. I mean, that idea of not overthinking job applications. Lots and lots of people do that, as you say, where you're thinking about, am I ticking enough of the job description, all those sort of things. And sometimes all that thinking kind of puts you off actually applying. And as you say, there's an opportunity there that could have been. So I think it's really interesting to sort of hear you reflect that. And I mean, around extracurriculars, yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think it's one of those sort of areas where people sometimes underplay the importance of them. And I think it's so interesting that you said about do something you like. I think often people almost feel like when we talk about extracurriculars, you're like, I'm looking for something that I could put on my CV. But as you say, it's, picking something you actually enjoy, something
Absolutely,
you want to do.
yeah.
And then from that, as you said, it's kind of what that's giving you and what that's, allowing you to kind of take with you, which is the fact you've tried something. As you said, the first thing you try might not be the thing you enjoy, but it's that process, I guess, as you said, of trying something to test out. Is it the right thing for you, to experiment, to see which bits of it you like, which bits you maybe don't like so much. So I think it's really, really good advice. If we've kind of had students and graduates watching that who've thought, fantastic, brilliant advice, they want to find out a little bit more about you, your work, maybe get in touch with you, where can kind of people find you in the Webbosphere?
Yeah, I think, well, it's the easiest to just contact me on LinkedIn, and my name is Elze, so that's Elze. So yeah, it's just probably easiest to catch me on there.
We will put that up on the screen. So if you're watching the podcast on YouTube, you will see Elze's name flash up on the bottom of the screen with the kind of LinkedIn logo next to it. If you're listening to the podcast, we will put them in the podcast notes so that you have access to them. So yes, you'll find all of that. But thanks for kind of spelling it out for us.
Amazing.
Yeah.
No worries.
Well, I really appreciate your time today. Thanks so much for kind of sharing your career journey, some brilliant advice there at the end, and thanks for becoming the latest member of the Hud Grad Club. And obviously wish you best of luck with final kind of month in the officer role and everything that comes next.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks very much. Take care. Bye-bye. Enjoyed the podcast? Then go to the University of Huddersfield YouTube channel for all of our future episodes. Subscribe, like, and don't forget to hit the bell button for notifications. If you'd like to be involved in the Hud Grad Club podcast moving forward, please get in touch with us on alumni@hud.ac.uk.